And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Benched with Bubba, episode 769 on 6-9 day, June 9th, which is always a coincidence. I think not. We're going to recap your weekly FAAB coming at you on a Monday, week 12, NFBC FAAB coming up for you here. And in order to help me, as usual, my co-host, he's on Twitter at breaking_T, and we got a lot of news to talk about with some ad drops, my friend. But Ben Tid, how we doing?
Doing good, Bubba. Yeah. We were kind of saying this might be a silly show, and you already started that off with your comment on the.
I literally noticed it when I was looking at the intro. I saw the title, and I'm like, "Oh, this is good. It's just too. I'm an idiot." Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I wasn't listening fully, but I see the episode number now. Then with the okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I correlated it together.
I'm fully on board with what you're talking about now.
Yes. How we doing? How's the weekend? Everything good? Baseball's kicking live, and like this time next week, we're like at the halfway mark. So yes.
It's kind of sad, honestly.
Yeah.
that it's almost that point in the year. I'll treat it though as June, end of June being the actual halfway point. So that's kind of how I view it. But yeah, I mean, I think the All-Star game kind of throws that off a little bit, kind of shifts everything up a little bit, especially when we start off in March now every year. But I still consider July as the second half. So we have a little ways to go.
For sure. All right, let's get after it. Let's talk about some news and notes before the ad drops of the week, because some very good things and some what the heck things have taken place since the end of last week over the weekend. We'll start with the good. Roman Anthony, the Roman Empire, or the Roman era, as I've heard it from a few different Red Sox fans, has begun. He flew out to left field in his first at-bat on Monday night, but he put the ball in play. That's the start. He gets called up. Willie Abreu goes to the IL with an oblique injury. Some are saying phantom, some are saying real. We'll get more of that in about 10 to 15 days. Where he had a Roman Anthony, because this time next week, definitely be a topic of conversation.
Well, I think he was drafted in every main event.
He has gone in most mains, correct.
Yeah, he was probably drafted in my listener league as well. So there's my 4 FAAB leagues right there. So I couldn't really enjoy adding Roman, and someone even had him. They probably drafted him, honestly, in my home keeper league. So in my 5 total FAAB leagues, I was not able to add Roman prior to the call-up. So, to your point, he'll definitely be on the OC FAAB report for next week. But I joked in the Discord that I'm anticipating the Jack Hags, the 2 for 21 with 6 Ks this week for Roman, but we'll see what happens.
Yep, that would be interesting if he pulls that off and see where the bids go. Because I mentioned this, I think, with Ryan on Thursday night, is all these prospects are getting called up, so there's only so much more money to go around. And that's what'll keep it interesting, because we'll get to Mauricio, who probably went lower than he would have gone for a month ago, type things, and so on and so forth. So Anthony will still pretty much get as much money as Cags, if not more, but we'll get to all that as we recap FAAB. Ryan Weathers, this is one of the big bummers of the weekend. For those that saw the videos over the weekend, gets hit in the dome by his catcher. Everyone's thinking, okay, that's what it is. And he goes on the IL, and they said no concussion, cleared out concussion test. Okay, cool. Goes to Florida to check out his quote-unquote shoulder. Hours later, he's on the 60-day IL with a lat strain. So it sounds like it's similar to what Pablo Lopez is dealing with, 8 to 12 weeks, maybe more. So it's at least a grade 2, if not worse, lat strain for Ryan Weathers. That's a drop for me in pretty much every format. What are your thoughts on this Weathers situation?
Yeah, well, people were worried about the forearm and the elbow, and of course now it's a lat muscle, most likely. Well, definitely, yeah, he's the one that has a confirmed lat strain. So, 60-day IL, that's in an NFBC type format, that's 2 months. That's definitely a drop, because even with Weathers, there wasn't anything guaranteed with his performance. He was just throwing harder. And granted, he was off to a great start, ERA around 3, whip of 1. But now with the injury and the way the other injuries are piling up, you kind of have to drop Weathers in a non-IL league.
Yep, he's gone. We'll have to see what the Marlins do with this one, because Yuri Perez is making his debut on Monday. So that is an arm back in the rotation, which they desperately need right now. But if you look at roster resource, it's Sandy, it's Quantrill, it's Cabrera, and Yuri Perez, with Weathers out of the mix. So it feels like they're going to be calling someone back up. Is it Adam Mazur? I'm kind of actually interested in a little bit, which is weird, because I liked what we saw in short stints with the Padres, but definitely something to keep an eye on with the Marlins. Hunter Green seeking a second opinion. Not good. Bob, GIF, enter now. Originally goes back up. He went on the IL with a groin injury. He was already on the IL, Ben, with a groin injury. Now we're finding out he's getting a second opinion on his groin and back, which we'll let you say this time. How are we feeling about this? Because second opinions never go well.
Well, I don't want to say this is why I didn't draft Hunter Green. It was more performance question marks, but also the fact that he throws so hard. So I think, we were speculating before we recorded about that since they're saying back for Green, it could be his lat as well, because I think it was Pablo. They called it a shoulder strain, and I was kind of griping with this earlier to you, but a lat isn't a shoulder. It's your back muscle. It may connect up kind of towards the shoulder, but it's essentially a back muscle. So and even the teres major that Pablo injured and Joe Ryan last year, I consider that a back muscle because they kind of go over the shoulder blade, but it's not, for me, a shoulder injury is like your rotator cuff or like where the joint meets for your shoulder. Everything else is like the back for the most part. So, and I think people get scared off when they hear shoulder, and it's not exactly a shoulder in my mind. I mean, I don't have a medical background, but just from playing sports all my life and hurting myself at times as well, that's just kind of my view on the whole situation. But we should have Dr. Dave opine on his thoughts as well, just to get the 100% right way to think about it. But yeah, with Green, obviously not dropping him, but he could be out a while, and maybe because he is throwing so hard, he's just breaking down because he's 6'4", 2'4". He's a big guy and he throws hundreds, but definitely not good. And the current date right now on NFBC is actually he was supposed to. No, that's like 2 weeks, a week and a half. The 19th is when they have him coming back, which would be great. But if you're getting a second opinion, it's probably be a longer stay on the IL for Green.
Yeah, it's being the second opinion. It feels like we're on the Ryan Weathers, Pablo Lopez side of things. Unfortunately, again, we'll know before the next FAAB period, so we'll wait and see. But it's getting old quick. Zebby Matthews went on the IL as well. I said joined Pablo Lopez on the outline. We don't know what it is just yet. I think they called it elbow discomfort for now. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe it'll turn into a shoulder. It'll turn into a lat as the days go on.
It does say shoulder now.
Oh, now it's back to shoulder. So I knew this was coming because I was reading one of the beat reporters for the Twins said I think it was either Griffin Jacks or Joe Ryan was saying the mound in Sacramento was extremely hard and it was causing pain while throwing. And then all of a sudden, 2 of the 3 starters that took the mound. But I'm sitting there going, hey, the A starters never complain. There's been a lot of starts before this. So it seemed a little weird. Who knows? Maybe there's something to it. But 2 of the 3 starters that pitched for Minnesota are on the IL now with shoulder/lat injuries. So Zebby Matthews likely, gone for a bit. Simeon Woods-Richardson has been called up. Any thoughts on this?
He's probably a drop because he was bad anyway. And
yes. So
you're not really. He's just an. I still don't really know why he was hyped so much, Zebby, but because he was bad last year, he's slightly less bad this year with his ERA and WHIP. So yeah, just drop him, and just because he's not nearly like a guaranteed good player. So I mean, and with the shoulder concerns, it could be a while, even if it is an actual muscle like Pablo or whoever else we were talking about before Green, but. Yeah, so just drop Zebby now.
Yep, I'm with you. I've been out on the Zebby and Festa train of late. Not going to be on the Simeon Woods-Richardson one either. So just move on from most of Minnesota these days. Bryce Harper goes to the IL with a lingering wrist injury. He says it's not too bad. He wants to let it rest and heal. At the same time, we heard this is the same injury from last year that caused him not to do anything for 2 months. Who knows if it was the offseason or he actually couldn't do anything for 2 months. Time will tell. But kind of weird that this has been a lingering injury that we're just now hearing about once again, Ben. Still was playing great, hitting home runs, so didn't seem like it fully affected him, but out for at least 10 days, and we'll have to wait and go from there.
Yeah, this one stinks, but it probably means that I'm done drafting Harper. I mean, I was in on him last year, and just like you think he's going to be a guaranteed producer, but he hasn't had 100 runs since 2021. This is talking points draft season, 100 RBI since 2019, and that's not gonna. Well, that streak will continue this year of not having 100 of either. For sure. And the with him having this injury last year and it's flaring back up, it's just doesn't make me sit well. And he's got back issues in the past and he swings so hard. So I think he could. I love Bryce. I love his profile. I love how he hustles. I think he's a great player, but he's probably just breaking down. It feels like at this point he's 32, which isn't the oldest age, but he's been playing for a long time. And I guess there's a chance he's not really back this year, depending how bad the wrist injury is, because especially as a power hitter, you need your wrist to be 100%. And that sounds like it hasn't been 100% for a while now.
Yeah, it's weird because they're saying it's minor, but like as we've learned, as Dr. Dave would tell us, everyone lies. So I guess we'll have to wait and see when he returns. We're hoping for the best because we want Bryce out there. But to your point about drafting him, I'm kind of with you. Like I was all in 2 years ago with you. I thought he'd be like an MVP candidate. I think he's still very, very good. It's just his price tag every draft season doesn't warrant what he's doing. And to your other point, for him playing so long, yeah, some may forget the dude basically got his GED to go play college ball when most kids are playing high school. Like it was crazy. He's been playing full-time ball for quite a while. So a lot of wear and tear on that guy. He started out as a catcher too, by the way. So remember that. Speaking of catchers, Shaylan Bangalers goes to the IL with a flank injury, aka an oblique for Mr. Langoliers, which for a catcher with power, I don't like that at all, to be honest with you. That is not a good place to get hurt. They're saying it's a grade 1 is what I last saw, but time will tell on that one. McGreevy is catching right now. Not kidding. That is how you say his name. I had to triple take when I watched the game with Dallas Braden because you never know. Dallas Braden is almost dumb, like cornier than me, not dumber, cornier than me. Dumb people to take it not the wrong way, so I stopped. But I love Dallas Braden. But yeah, the catching situation, the whole team in Oakland's kind of a roller coaster of emotions. But Bangalers out for at least 2 weeks. I'm weirdly expecting longer.
Well, if it is a grade 1, that's a good sign, but he could easily aggravate it eventually. I mean, it's hard to predict that. I was upset at first that I didn't get more Shaylan Bangalers in draft season. Like I don't think I have him on any of my FAAB leagues, but I did have him in a handful of DCs. I'm actually taking a 0 and 1 DC because I have no other options that are healthy or called up to the majors, unfortunately.
Tis the season, Ben. Tis the season.
Oh, yeah. It's been the season for like 2 months, it feels like, with that in DCs. But as when we talked to our FAAB ads, I was interested in McGreevy. So hopefully he can fix things up for me.
Fix them up, maybe a little baling wire and duct tape, and see what takes place. But yeah, I'm curious because McGreevy actually did play well over the weekend. He's cheap in DFS. So I gave him a few shots. It was better than I expected. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. They picked up Austin Wins in a trade for the Reds. That's not it, folks. He's just a backup, but we'll have to wait and see on that.
And keep Shay. Don't drop him.
Yes, do not drop Shaylan Bangalers. That would be a tremendous regret for many. All right, let's get to it. Let's recap some FAAB, my friend. For those keeping track at home, we usually I pulled the main event up for this week because some big names getting added, but we focus on the RotoWire Online Championship 12-team leagues because most people play 10s and 12s. Most of these players are already rostered in 15s as well, so it keeps it a little more relevant for people as we get going here. So we'll give you all our thoughts on these players, kind of what we expect. We always, at least myself, will make some tongue-in-cheek folks comments on, look at another dollar bid in an OC. Awesome. But hey, I'll wait till Ronnie Mauricio. But let's just get to it. Let's just to the main man of the attraction, the one that Ryan Bloomfield has a man crush on, that so many others do as well. Jack Caglione of the Kansas City Royals, picked up in 226 leagues, as high as 570. 570 with a runner-up of 168 in that league, by the way. There was 3 bids over $500. As low as 44, so that's at least respectable in an OC. No one got a freebie. People might think that's free, but in an OC, Ben, we know freebies do happen, even with the biggest names. So, yeah, a lot of spitting. Most were in like the 2 to 350-ish range, it kind of feels like. But the fact that we're 3 over 500 stands out a bit to me. What are your thoughts on Mr. Caglione?
Well, I had bids in for Caglione, and I don't think I got him anywhere. Actually, no, I know I didn't get him anywhere. I wasn't too aggressive. But he, it's so hard to now analyze the MLB sample because it's only 25 at bat or 25 plate appearances. He hasn't walked yet. But I know you heard everyone talking about how hard he was hitting the ball in his first game, and so I'm not going to mention the expected stats just because of the small sample that we're working with here. But it's just he's like, I feel like he's the same profile as Nick Kurtz, but their situation in terms of playing time. But I mean, the environment's better for Kurtz before he got hurt, but there was no platoon issue, I don't think, with Caglione. And there was no way I was going to be competitive with how much money I have left in my leagues versus what I want to spend on a rookie. So I would have to get like one of those $44 leagues where I would have to win Caglione, but I wasn't so lucky. And I mean, we'll see. I made the joke earlier about the 2 for 21. I think he did have 4 hits.
He had 4 hits on Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking at that 2 for 21 before that 4-hit game, but yes, so far so good for him. And 25 at bats in the first week is great. That's what you want to see, especially like in a deeper format. You want to get that playing time. And as long as he's relatively good, he should continue to get that playing time going forward.
Yeah, and what I really liked about the playing time you're mentioning is it's like he played right field, he played DH. They made points to keep him in the lineup even without like completely ruining some of their other options, if that makes sense. So they had him out there. He's hitting the crap out of the baseball. So very impressive stuff with Caglione. And let's see where things go from there. But a very, very strong bats. And really looking forward to the Nick Kurtz. I've heard that comp a few places, even like Ryan mentioned it at one point. I want to see the end of the season because Kurtz came back on Monday off the IL. And Kurtz started to hit home runs right before he left. So I want to see like end of season. How does this one pan out? Because I agree with these comps. I agree that Caglione has the better, I guess plate discipline. But it'd be interesting to see power profiles in action.
But looking even to next year, not that I want to, but it just crossed my mind is first base is getting some very much needed help in terms of outlook for next year because of how bad it's been this year. So
we'll see if Jack's first base eligible next year, though, if he doesn't play first base for the Royals.
Oh, yeah, we shot that down. That's a good point.
Yeah. Kurtz for sure. Yes.
We've got one first base game, so hey, you never know.
He'll get to 10 by the end of the year. 20 will be interesting.
Oh yeah, it's
20.
Like
like
20 for
18 or
next
something.
year.
Yeah. So like in season, he's already first base, but yeah, in season would have been no problem. The full gamut will be the interesting conversation.
Well, Yahoo, he'll be valuable at first base next year.
Yeah, he's already valuable like second and third, I think. So he got that going for you because he touched those bases in a game. The second most added player this week, another big time prospect, Ronnie Mauricio of the New York Mets. He has a home run and 2 steals on the season, hitting .263. That's through 5 games for the Mets, where he's primarily played third base, but got a stint at short, stint at DH. In the minors over 19 games at AAA, 3 homers, 6 steals at .323. He's battled injuries over the last couple of years, but a lot of hype was behind Mr. Mauricio. Ben, he was added in 214 leagues, as high as 218. Here we go now. Low as $4. $4. Somebody got a nice cheapie on that one. There's only one $200 bid and then a bunch of $100 bids. So what are your thoughts on Mauricio? Because another guy that I was not as interested as others, and I know I might regret that.
Well, this is actually someone that I did get in FAAB in a couple of spots when we go over our moves. I kind of have my bids for Mauricio right at or even above Caglione, just because of the speed. And I feel like, well, they're both rookies, so that they kind of are even in my mind in terms of likelihood to do well going forward. But because of why the max and the averages were so much higher in Caglione's favor, it's because of the perceived playing time that we kind of discussed going forward. Mauricio is kind of up for an injury. Even though he has played almost every game, it seems like since he's been called up, he only sat once, I think Thursday. I don't know if they played Monday. Well, I'm looking at the last 6 days right now for the Mets, but he's been batting in the middle of the lineup 6. He moved up there on Sunday. He's a switch hitter. And to your point, he's one of their top prospects. And I don't know if Vientos, I mean, I haven't been a fan of Vientos going into the season, and I know he struggled this year. And even Beatty could even crumble. Like, he's so hot and cold, and even McNeil isn't that good. So there's definitely options for Mauricio to stay in the lineup. And he has the speed factor that Cags doesn't have. So that's probably why I was a little more interested in Mauricio than Caglione. But there's, like I said, there's definitely the risk that he gets sent back down eventually. But that's why I didn't bid way too much on Mauricio either. I was relatively timid with my bids and still ended up getting him a couple spots. But yeah, I think the profile is great for fantasy because of that. He already has 2 steals. Granted, a lot of his production came in cores.
Yes.
But it's still production, and so I think there's a chance he does stick for the long haul Mauricio. Like, he was 2020 2 years in a row, and before he got hurt. And the average isn't always the best, but I don't think the K numbers look that high for him. Like, it's nothing abnormally Like it's not like a 30% K rate in the minors or anything like that. So I think he could be okay. And so I'm cautiously optimistic with Mauricio going forward.
Yeah, this is one of those that like we talked about in the Discord a lot on Sunday. People are kind of asking this, that, and the other, and it felt like to me with Caglione, it was a really good. I feel like a ton of power upside. Playing time should be there unless something crazy happens. Where Mauricio, on paper, he should stick around because even Vientos is kind of starting to lose playing time before he got hurt. So if Mauricio's hits right away, he's going to stick. And to me, he's got a 5-category skill set that, like you said, Jack doesn't have, if that makes sense. Like Mauricio's never going to match the power of Jack, but everything else is pretty darn sweet. So the more I thought about it, I'm like, man, this Mauricio plays like this could help a ton. I ended up not going there very heavily. So I didn't land any Ronnie Mauricio. But the closer it got to that 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific window, I'm sitting there going, man, I should really bump things up here. It was a combination of, I don't think I need the position. But then again, we've talked about it. Sometimes just take the best player and make it work. And second, I was just so scared of being down to like less than $200 in FAAB. I'm like, I just got to take this easy. Let's just chill and see where it goes. So it'll be interesting. I think Mauricio, like another thing, like we compared the Kurtz to Jack. I think a Mauricio versus Jack from Monday on, after people acquired them, will be a great comp as the season comes to an end.
And he could get third base eligibility soon, Mauricio, if he stays up.
Good call. Shortstop, third, middle infield, corner infield. That's always sweet as well. The White Sox surprised us this weekend, and not because they're just a bad baseball team, but they surprised us by making a transaction. And actually, they're better than the Rockies, so I should watch my tongue on that. The White Sox called up Kyle Teal, a player that when Edgar Quero was called up, everyone in the White Sox system said Teal won't be up till end of the year or next season. They had no reason to rush him. Well, blasphemy. Shocker. They lied again. Teal gets called up on Friday. He played in all 3 games, caught 2 of them, DH'd another, had hits in 2 out of 3 games, walked 20% of the time, which was, I think, really good to see from a young ball player. In the minors, over 50 games at AAA, hit .295 with 8 homers and 7 steals. That's a great profile. Kyle Teal was added in 182 OCs, as high as 173, as low as $1. And then in the main events, added in 56 leagues, as high as 254, as low as $1 in a main as well, Ben, which is surprising to see. I didn't really need catching help a ton. I think I got 1 share. I dropped Kyber Ruiz for him, I believe. Where were you at on this Kyle Teal situation?
I made the exact same move in one of my leagues that you just mentioned. Dropped Ruiz, so we'll go over that. And I also got them for Bo Naylor in the Listener League, even though Naylor had a good Sunday, but his average has been so bad. Yeah, and then I pulled up Teal's stats. This is like me going off of the situation. Like I didn't look too deeply into Teal's stats or minor league numbers, but I just knew that he was he was a very good prospect. And seeing the 2020 for his minor league career in 188 games, so a little more than a full season, is pretty wild. That's JTR stuff, and that's a 300 average to go with it. So, and he's bat, like you mentioned, he's batted all 3 he started all 3 games. He's been up. Teal, Caro's kind of like the every other day catcher, backup, but Teal's getting that DH time because there's no one who should keep him out of the lineup. He was one of the centerpiece. He was probably the centerpiece for the Crochet trade. So I think they're gonna leave him in there and see what he can do. So it was kind of like with Cags, it's the playing time that's so valuable. The production's gonna be questionable because he's a rookie, but I mean I thought Caro would have a little longer leash, but the problem is with Caro that he had Teal behind him, so it's a better upgrade at catcher. But I think there's no one behind Teal now who's going to displace him. So I think the full-time PT should be his going forward as long as he's fine. And that's why I made those upgrades that we'll talk about more later. But yeah, I'm seeing the 2020 in his career. It makes me feel pretty optimistic about those ads.
Yeah, I know. I think I dropped Ruiz for. I know I put that in. I'll have to double check when we recap our bids of where I picked up Kyle Teal. If I did, I know I tried, but most leagues I didn't. I thought I liked what I had. We moved on, but love the power speed combo you mentioned. There's a ton to like there. Still a young ball player, but the prize piece of the Crochet trade, as you mentioned. And I think there's definitely some fantasy appeal, and he's getting the playing time, which is the most important part. This is one, Ben, I did not expect to say all season long. The 4th most added player this weekend in OCs was Bryce Elder. Bryce Elder was picked up in 163 leagues, as high as $120, as low as $1. That was the only $100 bid. He had an 81, a 77. A lot of them like in the 40 to 60 range, which I kind of get. I can see that. And what I like about it is Bryce Elder has been sneaky serviceable of late. Since he's coming off 8 innings, 1 run, and 12 Ks with no walks versus the Giants. That'll help boost your people's opinions. But since April 23rd, Bryce Elder has made 7 starts. He's got at least 5 innings in all 7. He's allowed 3 earned runs or less in all of them. 39 Ks, 11 walks over 42 and a third. Not ideal, but it's a 2.98 ERA, Ben, and a 3.39 Sierra. So it's not horrible by any means. Like, he's been very serviceable. It just took 8 innings, 1 run, and 12 Ks to make people wise it up to it. This is where he comes out and gives up 9 runs and pulls a Luzardo. But where were you at on this one with Bryce Elder?
Too soon on Luzardo.
He's one of my most rostered players, Ben. This is how I cope.
Okay, I'll try to do the same thing then and see if it works. Well, the thing with the Elder is that he was a great stream for this week because he's facing the Rockies at home.
That helps.
And
yes.
And this kind of wiped away all of that spec. The notion of getting him for cheap was completely wiped away with that start versus the Giants. And I mean, so I pulled up his year-to-date stats, and Elder has a 1.17 whip now, which was bad. I know at one point, but when you have a 0.38 over 8 innings, a 0.38 whip that is over 8 innings, it's going to lower it a lot. And the ERA is fine at 4.08 for what you're. I mean, I'm coming from the 15-team mindset, and a 12. Elder's not the most appealing pitcher because he's a low K rate relative to other starters, but we just went through a handful of injuries before we started talking FAAB, and once you see someone going 8 strong like this with 12 Ks, and I don't think he had a walk in that outing, it's going to raise your eyebrows no matter what league you're in. So that's why Elder was so widely coveted. And seeing 120 is kind of crazy. Well, the guy had the team name was Corbin Burn Notice, and he dropped Corbin Burns. That's kind of funny. The guy who added him for 120. Yeah. But like the 40s, 30s makes more sense because, like I said, the KF side isn't really there for Elder, but he's on what should be a good team. Braves still kind of sputtering, excuse me. So I'm not going to be too optimistic going forward because I think his K percentage is 21%, which isn't bad, but it's not good. And his K minus walks 14%, which is a little bit below average. So I think I think most of the reason why he's done well right now is the BABIP's 266, which is kind of low. And he is a heavy ground ball pitcher. Elder has a 53% ground ball rate, I believe. So you'd think the BABIP should be a little bit higher. Very low home fly ball rate, though, 28.9%. So that's going to keep the ball in the yard. That'll help the ERA for sure. So, yeah, I get the ad. It's just I wouldn't have gone too crazy with it because the skills aren't good enough where he seems like he's going to be an asset all season long. Yeah,
I 100% agree. Like I liked it. It's a good stream. It's a stream for me, nonetheless. So it's like, okay, if it's a stream, the bucket's $5 to $20 type thing for me. So you gotta teach their own, obviously. But if you're spending 120, I hope you're holding them for a while. That's like always my saying. If you're spending that kind of cash, it's a long-term investment with a guy like Bryce Elder, in my opinion. He was added in 21 main event leagues, as high as 87, as low as 13. So that one start in a 15 against the Rockies could just be everything you need in life. So I get it, but you only have $1,000 the entire season. So use it wisely, my friends. All right. The next most added player in OC's Joe Odell, picked up in 131 leagues, as high as $59, as low as $1. I know I was a part of these re-ads. I dropped them a few weeks back. You looked at me and said, "Are you sure he's starting to swing it well?" You were correct. And I've been watching it ever since then going, God dang it. Ben was 100% correct on this one. Over Odell's last 12 games since May 26th, entering this Monday, Odell is hitting 351. Yes, 351 with 5 home runs and a steal. He's striking out 18.6% of the time, Ben. Like, he's not even striking out. I know it's a small sample, but he's just fuego right now. And that's what led to everyone adding him this week. But where are you at on Joe Odell? Because I'm back on. I was full in to start the season. Slowly started letting him go. Now I'm back in again.
I wish I was able to add him in some of my main events. I do have him in the listener league, so that's good, but not in the main events. So that one kind of stings. But yeah, so you mentioned the K rate for Odell. He had a 4-game stretch with no strikeouts, which is unheard of for him.
Not for him, no.
Yeah, so the only thing you can really nitpick at is that he's not stealing that much. He has 1 steal in that time frame that came in on the 3rd. But before that, his last steal was April 25th. But I've heard others talk about this as well. It's just like a symptom of the Angels not running this year for whatever reason. And as far as I know, Odell's still pretty fast, but the power is awesome, and he's probably going to go on a massive cold streak after this, but he has the skills to be an impact player in fantasy. So I wish I had him in more teams, Odell, but yeah, this one for him, $59 even as a max, that seems like a steal for Odell, because he was someone we kind of liked. I remember you and I both were appealed, he was appealing to us in those late 200s in draft season, and didn't get enough Odell, but I definitely like the skills are there and the playing time is too. So that's kind of what you need for success.
Definitely. He was added in 2 main events, only 2 places he's probably available, 81 and 61. So, yes, that is correct. All right, next up, Sawyer Gibson Long, SGL for short, picked up in 101 leagues. This was a little wild to me. As high as 301. Oh, no, as high as 93. That's the next one. As high as 93, 123 leagues. As high as 93, as low as $1 for SGL. Came off the IL this past week, pitched against Chicago, the White Sox, 3 2/3, 3 earned, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Like, there was windows where he looked extremely serviceable this past season, or last season before he got hurt. I don't know. Like, I like the guy, but to me, he's kind of in that Bryce Elder streaming world at the same time. Maybe I'm underselling it. Where were you at on SGL? Because, like, again, I like him, but I wasn't ready to. I know he's a 2-step this week too, which intrigued people, but I need to see him go deeper into games before I get too worried.
Yeah, I think I had him and Elder in similar bid amounts this week. It's definitely because of the 2-step that helps a lot with Gibson Long. But he did have success last year. He had a 2.7. He had 26 Ks in 20 innings last year. 8 walks is kind of a lot, but good ERA and WHIP to go with it. So he got off to a good start. Well, actually, that was 2023. Then he got the injury. So it was a year ago, or I guess 2 years ago technically. But in the minors, pretty good numbers. The ERA was a little high, but WHIPs last couple of years below 1.2, which is always hard to find. But yeah, the first start was only 3 innings, 3 2/3. So not ideal, but this is his first start back. So I was intrigued, but I wasn't gonna break the bank on him. I was kind of like in the teens at the highest, I think, for my bids, considering where I am in FAAB right now. But I am kind of interested in him, and I feel like there's a lot of moving in the Tigers rotation this year. There's like Montero's always in and out, so who knows if Gibson Long will be in there for going forward for a long time, because Olsen will be back soon. Job could be back, and well, he's that elbow issue. The corpse of Alex Cobb may come back at some point. So there's definitely some names that could supplant Gibson Long. So that's why I wouldn't bid too much, but but there's some appeal. It's just gotta temper the bids a little bit.
Yep, with you completely. Like, appeal, not appeal I was willing to invest heavily in, like others were. Sawyer Gibson Long was picked up. He was the 3rd most added player behind Mauricio and Teal in main events. Picked up in 55 leagues, as high as $80, as low as 6. And seeing as high as 80 in a 15-team league that does need pitching kind of tells me we're not alone in our thoughts with Sawyer Gibson Long. Because if he was as great as some are saying, he would have been for a lot more in the main event. So I think that's a very, very good point. This one hurts so much. Christian Encarnacion Strand, got him for $1 in an auction earlier when Ben live streamed with me. Got a lot of shares of CES in draft season, lots of shares as draft season went on too. I got really excited. I'm like, oh, first base every day, ballpark, power, yes. Gets hurt again. CES came back off the IL on Friday. CES homered in all 3 games this weekend with at least 2 hits in every game. Only struck out 14% of the time. Only 3 games, but still, these are all insanely good things. CES was added in 101 leagues OCs, as high as 301, as low as 12. There was 2 $200 bids, and there was a lot of $100 plus bids when it came to CES. And the fact is, $12 being the lowest bid, no single bucks. It was basically the second most runner-up or min bids on 12s this week, which we don't see that many, period, Ben. So people are all in on CES.
They were, and it stings because I did not realize he was starting on Friday. So my 1 TC, I did not start him. Yeah, that one
Yeah.
stung when I was setting lineups today. I was like, I could have used those 3 homers.
Yeah, damn.
Of course, that's got to happen. Like, I mean, but even though, like, if I knew he was coming back, maybe I would sit him because it's the first games back. I mean, how often does someone go off like that? But
Agreed.
oh well, that's my coping with you and Luzardo. That's my coping with CES for now.
There you go.
It's not nearly, but whatever. So, well, at least like to my point about Kurtz and Caglione earlier, we have a first baseman back, so that's good news for fantasy, and he's going to play all the time. CES, so there's not really a whole lot to say. It seems like he's healthy now, at least, which is a good sign because he hasn't been healthy the last couple seasons, and that's kind of delayed the start to his career. And he had a ton of hype when he went crazy in spring training, 2 years ago, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And I think he kind of started doing well again this spring training, but now he's shown that he can hit some homers in the big. So let's see if it carries over. But yeah, definitely a good ad. I don't know if I go 301. I don't think he's worth that much money. Even there's a couple in the 200s. Actually, there's a lot of high bids for him.
Yeah, a lot of high bids.
It's probably the first base thing, honestly, more than anything.
Yeah, it's a tough position, first base / corner. It's been a grind this year.
And this is 12, so just imagine how it is in a 15.
Yeah.
So, you know, because you do play some 15s, but to the audience, it's not fun. So I get the interest in CES.
Yeah, CES wasn't even available in main events. So that says everything you need to know. And then one more tidbit on the CES train. 2 out of the 3 games this weekend, he played third base. He's going to get first base, third base, it looks like, which is even crazier for the FAAB people this weekend. And that maybe gave another boost to the bids.
Can we skip the next one, please?
You don't want to talk about Parker?
No, we can. I'm joking.
Yeah, we've talked about him a ton. We can briefly do this if you want. Parker Meadows was added in 96 leagues, as high as 161, as low as 8. Again, no freebies, which is great to see. Parker Meadows, his first week back, got hits in 4 out of the 7 games. That's a plus. Hit 217, scored 4 runs, stole 2 bags, 17.9% walk, 17.9% K, knocking the rust off is what I'll call it, Ben. They keep hitting him leadoff. I don't care if the production's like it's going to come. So I was in on Parker. I don't think he got me Parker because I'm a scaredy cat when it comes to bidding. But your boy got a lot of love in FAAB this weekend.
He did, and I was not able to experience any of that love myself, so that's why I wanted to skip over him. But
gotcha.
You definitely know I would have been in on Parker, and anyone who has listened to prior shows or is in the Bubba in the Loom Discord and read my article about Parker Meadows would understand why. I do have him on a handful of DCs, so it was good to finally start him because I have some outfields that are just destroyed by injuries in my DCs. But yeah, I guess the only concern is that he sat versus the one lefty. I think they were saying it was a rest day. I mean, kind of convenient that's versus a lefty. Yeah. But he has the defense he's good defensively enough where he would be in the lineup every day. Parker made that 8th versus a lefty, but he's still in the lineup, so that's valuable. And I'll mention I was close. I don't know how close I was to getting him, but I tried. This wasn't enough.
Yep, that is fair enough, to say the least, when it comes to Mr. Parker Meadows. We'll move on from him so we can get to maybe happier times. Luis L. Ortiz added in 96 leagues, as high as $69, as low as $1. Ortiz had a 2-step this week for the Guardians. He had the Reds at home in Cleveland, then at Seattle. Ortiz, over his previous 5 starts, 27 2/3 innings, 7 earned runs with 31 strikeouts, 14 walks, has been very, very serviceable. Proceeded to give up 4 earned runs against the Reds on Monday evening. So 2 steps not off to a banging start, one might say. Where were you at on Luis L. Ortiz, who I know I have a couple of shares of?
And it was 9 runs and I think a walk. So he had 10 base runners in fewer than 5 innings. So it definitely hurts the whip. Well, if you look at his stats, he almost has a 5 walk per 9, Ortiz. So he threw really hard last year. I remember when he was, I think I added Ortiz when he got called up by the Pirates, if it was last year, the year before. So I've been interested in the past. The issue, though, the last couple of years was that he never had a good swing strike rate, but this year it's 12.6. So the Ks are finally there. But like I said, the walks are there with it. So you're always going to have risk with someone like that. His K- walk is only 13.6%, which is pretty horrible. That's kind of anchored down by 11.8 walk percentage, what I already alluded to. So, I mean, the walks weren't really there for him today in the start that we mentioned. There's only 1 walk, I think, is what I saw on the MLB Network ticker. But he's I don't know. He's got a 4 ERA on the season. It's going to go higher now. xERA is 4.74, so I'm assuming he has a lot of hard contact. So I haven't been a big Ortiz fan. I think there were times he was available in my 15s, but I think if he was, I would have kind of just looked past him because of the skill set isn't quite there for a reliable starter. Even in a good matchup, there's always some risk for a blow up, and that's what we saw tonight.
Yeah, I got the 2-step appeal. Okay, that's fine. I'm cool with that. I think he's gonna have his moments throughout the season, especially for 15s. He's definitely a guy though you can't just trust every week. You got to prepare for the inevitable. But he's gonna put you, like, I'd say 2/3 of the time he's gonna give you a start. You're like, okay, that'll work in a 15. That'll work. Like, we can do that. It kind of has that Patrick Sandoval vibe to him, if that makes sense. Where you'd have some of those starts like, yeah, heck yeah, and then the other one's like, oh Jesus, like here we go, and that's just what's gonna be like rostering Luis Ortiz.
Well, I'm looking at his year-to-date stats. He has a 1.4 whip. So first thing I thought of was Edward Cabrera. Throws hard.
Rodriguez, take your pick. Yeah.
Yeah, and any flashy pitcher with awful whips, just drop them in a bucket and pluck one out. See who you end up with. They're all the same.
Great point. Great point indeed. Chad Patrick, Mr. Two First Names himself, picked up at 91 OCs, as high as 110, as low as $1. Mr. Patrick this week is set to face the Atlanta Braves in Milwaukee. And then next week gets the at Cubs at Minnesota 2-step, which is interesting. Patrick has allowed 3 runs or less in every outing this year, which I thought is very interesting. He now has a 2.84 ERA. The Sierra says otherwise, but 63 Ks and 69 2/3 innings pitched. He has at least 6 Ks and 4 straight starts been. What are your thoughts on Mr. Chad Patrick, who I like what we're seeing? He's improving as a young arm. I don't think he's like an ace by any means, but serviceable maybe.
This is one that's surprising to me because I streamed him a while back. I think it was versus the White Sox start, and I just dropped him right afterwards. I maybe because I didn't think he was going to stick around or if he was really that good, but Patrick has a 3.64 xERA in the year, a 3.22 FIP, and a 4.22 xFIP, but that's because his ground ball rate's only 26%, and his homer to fly ball is 5.4. So if you're expecting some home run regression for him, then it could get kind of ugly. But he's definitely more of a 15-team play. But with all the injuries we're talking about, maybe those 15-team starters that are in my mind are kind of creeping into the 12-team territory. So that's why he could be added this week. Patrick faces the Braves on Wednesday, which isn't something I would be targeting. But he has good year-to-date stats, like I mentioned, a sub-3 whip. But I hope he has a sub-3 whip, a sub-3 ERA, and a 1.21 whip. So the whip, kind of, to my point, kind of suggests a little regression in the ERA eventually, maybe. But I don't know if I would play him this week versus the Braves. It depends on my options, but I could see Patrick being like a bench streamer going forward as long as he's in the rotation. I mean, they don't want to play Henderson in Milwaukee, so maybe they like Patrick a lot, and that's why he's still in there. And they have tons of injuries, the Brewers, so he could stick for a while. But I wouldn't, kind of like with your point on Ortiz, I wouldn't necessarily play Patrick every week. I would kind of pick my spots.
Yep, and that's why I liked Patrick, but I'm like, I don't really think I'm a starter versus the Braves, so let's look another direction this week and go there, especially in 12s. Like that is that name, Ortiz, those are guys you're dropping and starting over and over again. So let's just not even do the ad if we're not going to pitch them type situation. All right, now this is where the week gets interesting. I don't have we could probably quick hit some of these. David Festa picked up at 82 leagues, as high as 55, as low as $1. He got called up when Pablo went down. Festa sucked in his first start. He hasn't been that great, folks, since he's been called up. He doesn't go deep into games. It says Evie Matthews, as you mentioned. Like, I've been out on both of them this year. So any thoughts on Festa, who was recalled and added? And that's what the recall got people excited.
Yeah, I had some mild interest just because of the nature of 15s. And I didn't bid a whole lot for Festa. I think I got him on one team, maybe two. We'll talk about it. But just because that's the what if. Because those teams kind of were, at least the one team was kind of shooting for any upside at all. So I thought he provided that. And I didn't necessarily expect to get him, I think, everywhere, Festa, but I'll take it, see what happens. I mean, he's bound to throw 5 innings eventually, right?
Yeah,
he's got to.
He was picked up in 30 main events, as high as 68, as low as $8. So, like, in a main event, those are reasonable prices. Like, that's something to take a chance on. Like, I could see that in a 15. In a 12, I just, like, again, throw him in the bucket with the rest of the guys, Ben. I don't see a whole lot in this. We're going to make a bucket of all of these guys here in a minute for sure.
You guys need to put a bucket on the Patreon and just, like, have faces sticking out of it and be like, all these guys are the same. This is
format it so you can hit a button and just like rolls through like a bingo thing, and then boom, that's the face for the day. Here you go. Stream them. See what happens.
Let's have Ryan automate that. That's his next job.
Get after it, right? You have nothing else to do. Kidding, everybody. Kidding. Kirby Yates picked up in 79 leagues, as high as 88, as low as $1. He returned from the IL this past week. So did Michael Kopech, if anybody's interested. Any thoughts on Kirby Yates? Like, I still think it's a giant mess for a closing situation in LA, so I'm not like overly excited.
Looking at the prices, not terrible. That the 88 kind of stands out by it's more than double the second highest bid. So definitely more like the 20s and the teens and single digits for Yates. This was the ad in the main events last week, I think, when news was that he was coming back. So I get it, but to your point, the Dodgers bullpen is a mess, always has been a mess, and probably always will be a mess going forward until they find the next Kenley Jansen. So, but if you're desperate for saves, you're desperate for saves, like I always say.
Yep. Michael McGreevy of the Cardinals made the spot start over the weekend. May get some more spot starts. That's what it sounds like the Cardinals want to do. They just haven't made anything official. Picked up in 77 leagues, as high as 121, as low as $1. I like McGreevy's skill sets. I like what we saw last year with McGreevy. Again, I just don't know what confidence level of playing time we have with McGreevy. So it kind of kept me low on bids with McGreevy.
I was in on McGreevy mainly because he has a 10-to-1 K to walk so far. Granted, it's 11 innings. I get it. It's small, but it's promising. And we've been talking about, at least in 15s, how awful pitching is. So any shine that you can see on a player, you kind of want to go for. It's like a shiny object and the dog runs after it or whatever. But, I mean, I guess there was a lot of talk in the Discord about Payante not being worthy of a spot for the Cardinals. But these teams like their veterans, and maybe they do go with the 6-man for a little bit, and then something happens because Liberatore had the fatigue issue, which is kind of concerning.
One thing I'm wondering, the Liberatore hasn't heard anything since he left. It's been quiet.
Yeah, I mean, he's been confirmed for Wednesday for the last couple of days. Liberatore starting Wednesday for the Cardinals. At least it's confirmed on RotoWire. And then they have McGreevy in on Saturday. So I think I'm playing McGreevy in a DC, and I might even started him where I added him when we go over our ads. But he was like one of the stash guys late in drafts to start the season as someone who could get called up and be valuable. So there's definitely some upside with him, and it's just like the playing time is a concern going forward. But we'll see what happens this week with Liberatore, and maybe Payante gets shelled again and he gets booted out.
Yeah, as you speak, the Jays are rallying in the third. It's already scored 2 runs against Pallante, so that would be a start for that. Liberatore, I'm really curious with that one. Like, I think I bench Liberatore for another starting pitcher in the league, and I love what he's been doing. Yep. And to your point in DCs, I did throw McGreevy because we're at that point of the season, as you mentioned. We've been at that point of the season, Ben. Like, oh, he's healthy. Okay, let's talk. Let's talk, folks. Like, you're in the conversation. You are in the bucket for sure, because the bucket is not that full. So,
that's all that matters sometimes is, are you playing?
It's more like a shot glass in some of these leagues. Like, you are in, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk David Fry. Picked up in 76 leagues, as high as 31, as low as $1. When Fry got activated, I mentioned it on Breakfast with Bubba and in my notes that, yes, we love it. Dude can hit. Can't play the field, though. Can't throw because of TJ. So he's splitting time with Menardo, who I actually had. I think I dropped him this week, or I put him in a bid to potentially get dropped, because a lot of lefties this week and production's down. So what's your thoughts here on Fry, how it affects Menardo, so on and so forth?
I think it's a waste of FAAB, but then I'm looking right now, and the Guardians play 3 lefties to start the week. So hopefully people are smart enough to see that he's a half-week stream, because Fry's not facing any righties and he's only DHing. So hopefully he's dropped next week. Well, I don't mean hopefully, but if you're adding Fry, don't expect him to be your catcher going forward necessarily until something happens to Menardo or somebody else. Well, it's got to be Menardo because he only DH right now. Fry, he can't throw. So I think you're playing him for Monday for right now, and then you're dropping him next week.
Yeah, for sure. You're definitely dropping him next week. That's why spending was interesting. Any thoughts on the Menardo part of this, though?
No, I've seen the average is pretty crappy. It's like 210 something, but he's got 10 homers, so which isn't terrible. Does he have first base eligibility now, Menardo?
Yes, he does. Right? Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
So in 15s, you kind of have to keep him, I think, because he's playing and he's a first baseman. Yep. But it's been rough because they've faced a lefty on Thursday and Friday. Menardo sat those games. He played Saturday versus the righty. I think I said that wrong. There were lefties Thursday, Friday, righty on Saturday. lefty yesterday and then a lefty today and the next 2 days. So Menardo's gonna he can go on vacation or something for a little bit and then can come back. But I think you have to keep him. He's like in your case in a 12, maybe not, but in a 15, he's someone you have to hold on to.
Yes, indeed. Cade Povich picked up in 69 leagues, as high as 23, as low as a buck. We're going to get to that. I got a good amount of Cade Povich coming out this week. Cade Povich has a 2-step this week, Ben, against the Tigers and the Angels. The Angels one really intrigued me. They are getting better, so maybe it shouldn't have intrigued me too much, but I am quasi-interested. I'm also interested in a guy who I've always believed in the skill sets. He's allowed 2 runs or less in 3 out of his last 4 starts, at least 5 Ks in each of the last 4 starts. So to me, we're seeing improvements on the mound from Cade Povich. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but we talked about Luis L. Ortiz. We talked about some of these other guys. At least Povich feels like I'm getting something back in this one. Maybe I'm overthinking it again, but what were your thoughts on Cade Povich?
No, he's a good stream. I'm playing him in a couple spots this week. 1 DC, 1 FAAB League. Yeah, seeing a couple 9 strikeout games, and both were not even 6 innings. One was not even 5 innings. He's getting 9 Ks. So the strikeout numbers are there. It's kind of I was in on Povich after the stretch he had last year and the season. It was an awful start to the season for him, but 3 out of 4 starts have been pretty serviceable. The St. Louis clunker was kind of not good, but those happen for young pitchers. And I know he doesn't throw that hard, Povich, but he still gets strikeouts. And the walk numbers are kind of high. He had a couple starts in a row in that 3 or 4 game stretch where he had 3 walks, 3 in that 4 2/3 outing. But yeah, I think it was a good 2-step to target this week. So it makes sense why he was added where he was in OCs.
All right, a couple more here. Mick Abel was recalled this past week to make a spot start for the Phillies. 5 1/3 innings, 1 earned, 2 Ks. He's probably going to stick around until Aaron Nola returns, which is still TBD on that one. Abel was picked up in 56 leagues, as high as 241, as low as $1. There was a 241, a 188, and a 125. Those are your 3 highest bids. I like the skill set of Abel, Ben. I don't think he's around for long, so I was quite surprised by some of these bids.
Yeah, I just looked at RotoWire. He's confirmed for tomorrow, and then they kind of have Nola in for Sunday. But I haven't been following Nola too close.
Back yet. He can't even throw a bullpen yet, so he's going to be out for a few more weeks unless something miraculously changes.
Yeah, so maybe it means that Abel is around for a little bit.
He's able to throw on Sunday.
Oh God, I have to sign off. But look, so if we look at next week, Abel may have. I was at the Marlins and maybe a 2-step for Marlins and Mets, maybe depending how it lines up. But I don't know. He great start to his career. I wouldn't have dropped that much money to your point just because of the uncertainty with how long he'll be around. And it seems like, at least with Nola, it's an ankle. So in theory, he should be okay once it's healed, but ankles can take a while because, I don't know, something about them, they don't like to heal too quickly.
No, they do not. All right, I'm going to go to the most spent players and flip it up a little bit. Christian Campbell was added in 16 leagues, as high as 255, as low as 3. So people are back on that train, Ben. Sedan Rafaela added in 10 leagues, as high as 236, as low as 22. Just quick thoughts between Rafaela and Campbell, teammates for the Red Sox that have struggled mightily, but started hitting towards the end of this past week. Would you have been that excited about either one of them?
Well, yeah, that 255 is really an outlier. I get like adding Campbell for mid double digits, which is mostly what the bids were, but I mean, all he really did was hit a home run on the weekend. So he's still got the Sunday boost or whatever it was, despite not really having a monster week. But it seemed like the playing time is still there for him, which is great for Campbell. Rafaela, I wasn't ever really in on him. Well, this is why he had 3 homers and a steal last week. So that kind of lines up with being.
Yep.
That makes sense why he was added in the spots he was not already added. So it's right. Well, 10 leagues is actually a pretty low number. He on the year, Rafaela doesn't really have numbers that seem like they're worthy. Well, actually, 36 runs right now is not too bad. 20, like around a third, a little more than a third of the way into the year. 25 RBIs, 6 and 8. So I get it, but one of my issues with Rafaela was that he hits low in the lineup for the Red Sox. I'm not really sure if he still does. I'm going to pull up their lineup right now. Yeah, he still's like the 9th hitter, but he plays all the time for his defense, so he kind of makes up for it with the always starting. So maybe not the worst ad, but I don't know. I don't think he's more of a 15-team player, I think, Rafael, than a 12.
Agreed.
So, I don't know.
Agreed. Royce Lewis was picked up in 12 leagues as high as 222, as low as 9, which I think is interesting because I've debated dropping Royce lately. I keep benching him because the underlying metrics, the quality of contact still look very good for Royce Lewis. He just isn't getting it done on the field. So he's just been benched for me, Ben. But it's like, okay, if I see someone spending 222, money's getting low. What if I drop him and someone in my league spends like $160 and that FAAB's gone now? Like there's a 40 chest to this that I could really lose. But you know what I'm trying to say in this scenario. Yep. Like I think he's much better than he's playing. Like the skills say he should be better, but the skills aren't giving us what we actually need. So what are your thoughts on Royce?
I get that idea. I think it's way too early though for you to do that. So I wouldn't do that yet. I would not throw the
Campbell just yet. That this is bait gif out there.
Yeah, look, like even looking at his weekly game like at bat logs, Royce hasn't hit 20 at bats since week 8. He had 19, but he was 1 for 19 that week. They went 0 for 13. But I think we said this last week. I forget how, maybe he was added last week in a lot of spots or something, but low K rate for Lewis. So it's a lot of BABIP, and that would make sense with your point. The underlying numbers looking pretty good for him, but he's too talented while he's healthy to drop. So I get adding him in these leagues. $9 is a hell of a deal for sure. Yes. One of those 29 had a no backup. Come on now, but he's like a perfect OC player because he's a ton of upside, and if he's hurt again, you just drop him and you replace him.
Yeah, there's a $9. The runner-up was $1 there, and then the 29 was no backup, as you said. The rest of them were at least competitive, to say the least. But yeah, pretty wild times in the streets. A few more here. Like Devin Williams was picked up in 13 leagues as high as 341, as low as 87. Do we think Devin is here to stay as a closer? Are you worried about, Luke Weaver got the PRP injection. He's starting to throw again. Are you worried about Weaver coming back and taking the job again?
I think it could be the exact same situation where Weaver comes back, but Williams is fine and he keeps the job because he has 2 saves in a row. So the first game was rough to watch. He couldn't put anybody away versus the Guardians, but versus the Red Sox, he had a clean outing. No base runners allowed, 1 strikeout. So that's a good sign. Yep. And I think, so Devin's going to have a couple more weeks to prove that he's worthy of having the job again. And I kind of hope he does take it because I think having Weaver available, I mean, they essentially just flipped roles. So having either one available whenever to stop the bleeding in a big situation is a great thing to have for the Yankees. But I think it makes sense to probably keep Devin in the role. I know you want to hear that when Weaver comes back. I do have Devin myself in the DC, so I would like to have him get those saves still. But I think just the way the roles were set up to be this year, I think it makes sense that Devin would continue to be the closer as long as he keeps pitching okay.
That's where I'm leaning as well, but obviously I don't feel great about it because Weaver was so good. I'm like, Devin needs more of those Red Sox outings to keep that job right about now.
Yes.
To lock it in because, if you have too many of those Guardians outings, you're definitely not keeping that gig. Last one I want to ask you about before we recap our stuff, like Jordan Beck was picked up in 5 leagues, big Coors week, at least the start of the week. I'm not too worried there. McCuller is popular. People specking on Bregman, picked up in 8 leagues as high as 167, as low as 39. That's interesting. It's interesting is what I'll say. The one I want to ask you, I'm lost for words. Well, first off, Chandler Simpson was picked up in 28 leagues as high as 147, as low as $1. I'm lost. Logan Henderson picked up in 25 leagues as high as 151, as low as $1. I know we love the skill set, and after the 151, it was 63 and a lot of 30s and below. So, okay, kind of makes sense. There's no movement saying that Logan Henderson's coming back anytime soon. It needs an injury to take place, essentially. Like, I love Logan Henderson. Most people do. I was just surprised to see that much activity in a 12 on Logan Henderson.
Yeah, it makes more sense in a 15 where I did keep Henderson in my 115 where I did have him as a stash. But yeah, I mean, to your point, there hasn't we kind of talked about it with Chad Patrick. The Brewers don't want to keep Henderson up for whatever reason. Maybe they're trying to tank. I don't know. I mean, they're not that bad to tank really. But you look at the rotation. They have Freddie, who's should be good, but it's a little rocky. They have Cy Vale, Quinn Priester, Chad Patrick, Jose Quintana. If you're trying, there's no way you don't find room for Logan Henderson in that rotation. But for whatever reason, they don't want to bring him up. So I don't know. Like I said, I like to say a lot in the Discord, teams are dumb. There's a lot of dumb teams based on the things that they do compared to what we think they should do. But We're just fantasy players. What do we know?
Exactly. Yeah, we're not going to talk about these. I want to be like David Peterson went for as high as 112, Chris Paddock 110, Ty France 110, Charlie Morton 110.
No, do not add Charlie Morton.
Sandy Alcantara for 101, as low as $1. There's just Adrian Hauser went for as high as 99. There's just some prices that I don't know. Like, people have their ways. They're probably better at this than I am, but I can't wrap my head around some prices for certain players.
This was a wild week in FAAB for sure.
Especially
not
like
for all the reasons why we
list.
were thinking either.
Yeah, no, just going through this list, I'm like, what in the heck is going on here? With that being said, Ben, let's recap our leagues for the week, our FAAB pickups. So I'll let you kick it off as usual. What took place in your world?
One thing I kept scrolling when you're done. I just want to say Ben Rice was added in 7 leagues. The min was 23. I love to see it.
That's good. Yeah, people in a 12 to have a min of 23. That's called people are paying attention. Is what that is, which does not happen often in these leagues. So yes, good point. And we know why you like that rice baby.
Yes, that's my favorite gift now. Like everyone else hates it now in the Discord.
No, I love it. I look for it every time I see a home run comes in. I open up the Discord. I'm like, where's it at? Oh, there it is.
It'll be there one way or the other. Don't you worry. Yes. All right. New Jersey main event. I did some finagling. This main event for me is god awful. I'm actually embarrassed that it's my team. I think it's in last now, but this league also has the main event overall in it. Main event leading team in it, so I was trying to play a little defense with my other
main. The New Jersey main has the overall leader. Holy crap, it's impressive. That's like
and they sat right next to me. It was
wow.
Yeah, Adam Ronos is the co-manager, and then Brian Ambos is the other co-manager. It was cool sitting next to Adam Ronos. Got to meet him, and Brian was cool too. We talked before the draft, but I added Tony Santillan, dropped Davis Martin because Pagan was mysteriously out of. He didn't get the save, so. And they have Pagan, so I was trying to just corner the market and try to help my other main event where I could. It was 48-7, a little bit of an overbid. If it was me, I would have been more aggressive if I was them, trying to add the handcuff to that situation. But a little bit overbid, but just trying to play some defense. And if anyone has a problem with that, I paid my money for this main event. I can do what I want. I'm trying to help myself out. So then I added Wenzel Perez. It wasn't a big bid. It was 18-6. I dropped Gavin Lux, who of course had a grand slam the other day, and I didn't play him. But he has like 2 homers now and a steal. Lux. He's the most emptiest batting average of all time. But Perez isn't really playing all the time now. And I was kind of worried about that with Meadows coming back. But Perez has more juice, I think, than Lux. So that's why I did that. And then this is my first ad of McGreevy. I added Willie, dropped Caratini 2-0. So 3 ads there. Main event 2. This one I was very busy. This one is not quite as bad as the other main event, but I think it has more potential. This is the one where I'm punting saves. So this is where I got Mauricio. I added Ronnie Mauricio, dropped Luke Raley 98-78, so a relatively cheap win for Mauricio.
Nice.
Joe Odell won here 81-30. I think I had Odell in my bids, but I prioritized Mauricio. Then this is a weird week for me for rookies. I added Kyle Teal as well. This is where I dropped Ruiz 74-37. Then I added Michael McGreevy, dropped Kyle Harrison 44-28, and then I got Robleski, who went unopposed. I dropped Arrighetti 18-0. I was kind of surprised that wasn't more interest in Robleski because we know how not healthy the Dodgers are, and Robleski has some decent prospect upside. So a lot of money spent in that one, but I kind of need to make a move there, and I figured those guys made sense. All right, so here's the Band-Aid that I'm tearing off. The good main event was where Parker Meadows was available. I believe I bid 108 or something like that on him. I thought it was going to be competitive because when people were stashing him, quote unquote, before he was off the IL, he was like going less than $50. So I'm like, okay, he sold 2 bases, but everyone knew that he could steal. So maybe he won't go up that much. He went for 151, backup of 121. So I wasn't even third or second for Parker. So this one hurt. I could have used those steals, but my consolation was I got Chris Bassett. I dropped Pablo 84-73. Someone dropped Bassett. So that's not a complete 1-for-1 switch, but I'll take Bassett for sure in this main event. And then this one is, you probably saw me talk about this in the Discord, but this happens to me too often with this guy. Leo Taveras, I added drop Moncada 14-3. Taveras gets DFA'd at like 2 p.m. I'm like, come on now. Why?
Yeah. Day after FAAB. Yeah. He wasn't great by any means, but he wasn't playing bad. Like, he was serviceable at a 15 for sure.
Like, his first week with the team, he had 2 homers at 290. He plays great defense, and then he had 2 bad weeks, and they cut him. Come on. He must be an awful clubhouse guy, Tavares, because the Rangers always jerked him around, and now the Mariners did the exact same thing. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I just want some steals. So much for that. Could use that $14 for sure. And then here again, same move. I added McGreevy, dropped Victor Caratini. This time it was 2-1. I like the upside of someone playing in Sacramento. I feel like it's on the same level as Coors now for run scoring. And I think we kind of mentioned, but McGreevy's playing almost full time, as much as a catcher can right now. And I think he has a steal even. So figured take a chance there. The Caratini he's playing a lot too, but he has like a 2% barrel rate. So there's not a lot of juice there. And then finally, the listener league is a little more. This is like one where I'm below $200 now. I kind of have to stop, but I added Mauricio here. I thought this was surprising. 64-10. I dropped Mickey Moniak, and then here's where I added Teal. Dropped Bo Naylor 28-4. I was pretty surprised at the lack of aggressiveness on both those guys. And then I got Festa here 8-1. So maybe this is my only Festa ad. I forget what I said. Yeah. So for $8, I'll take a chance on Festa. I dropped Kyle Harrison here.
Yep. And the Kyle Harrison one, I'm glad you mentioned it because I dropped him last week. He was supposed to basically pitch one game. Now he's set up for a potential 2-step this week because I don't know what happened to Justin Verlander. I haven't heard anything about setback or anything. Like, you look at RotoWire, like NFBC had him for 2. So I looked up RotoWire. RotoWire has Harrison pitching 2 this week at Coors, at the Dodgers. No Verlander to be seen. They have Verlander next week now. So curious to see how that one plays out. I still don't. I didn't even start Harrison in my DCs. I might regret it, but I don't know what is taking place with that.
Oh, yeah. Well, this must have changed since yesterday, but yeah, at Coors at LA is not a good. The Coors one I would start him by itself probably, but the LA is definitely
yes.
No thanks.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, my first OC, I added Joe Odell, dropped Kyle Manzardo. Told you I was going to do that. 9-0. Added Michael Soroka, dropped Max Meyer 6-1. In this league, Jack went for 441. Parker Meadows for 122. Ronnie Mauricio for 39 with a runner-up of 2, so that's good. But and Kyle Teal didn't even get picked. So there you go. There you go on that one. OCs are great. My beat Bubba OC, I picked up Slick Willie, dropped Trevor Story, who homered on Sunday, already has a hit on Monday, so we know how this is going to go. But got Slick Willie, who's been on fire the last 3 weeks. Looks like he's starting to get to going. $23, runner-up of 8 for Slick Willie. Added Cade Povich, dropped Lucas Giolito. It's a 12, remember, folks? 7-1. Giolito seems like he might still be broken. Bo Naylor just hit a home run, by the way.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, never fails. But in this league, Cags went for 112 compared to 441. Mauricio 53, Teal 43. So I was the runner-up on Cags at 88, actually. I almost got him, folks. Not really, but almost. All right, the 250 standalone league, I picked up Ben Brown, dropped Tony Gonsolin 7-0. Added Winfield Perez, dropped Drake Baldwin 6-0. I had 3 catchers in that league, so he was gone. Jack went for 121 in that league. In the Vegas Bubba and the Bloom 250 league, picked up Will Warren, dropped Lucas Giolito, and this is okay. So we had 20 moves in this league. There's only 7 with runner-up bids. It looks like Will Warren dropped Lucas Giolito 12-0. Not sure what happened there. Added Starling Marte, dropped Nathaniel Lowe 4-0. So that was fun as well. This league, Kyle Teal went for 72 with no runner-up bid. Jack went for 327 with a 289 runner-up, and Ronnie Mauricio went for 58 with a $48 runner-up to some guy named Bloomfield. So, yeah, he's got a Mauricio share. Bubba in the Bloom Listener League, just 2 more to go here. Colton Gordon, added Colton Gordon, dropped Dean Kramer 9-7. I love what Colton Gordon's doing. I like the ratios, I like the K to walks, I like the swinging strike, and gets a nice Minnesota Twins matchup. Then added Winfield Perez, dropped Lennon Sosa 8-6. So actually pretty good bids in that league, actually. And then on my 150 OLAC, added Otto Lopez, who already went deep today, dropped Lennon Sosa 8-0. Added Mike Talkman, dropped Leody Taveras. Got lucky on that one, Ben, 8-0. And then this is the league where Ronnie Mauricio went for 109 with no runner-up bid. And then we're going to finish it with this. Someone added Patrick Corbin, who I love. Everybody knows this. They dropped Kirby Yates. That's the first part that surprised me, Ben. For $102 with no runner-up bid. 102. I love Patrick Corbin, but maybe don't take a gummy before doing bidding. That's all I'm going to suggest, because that is wild. That is wild. I hope it works out, because it'll work out for me elsewhere. But whew,
the only thing I can think of is that you have 2 accounts, and this is your other account.
My
And,
burner account. Yes.
Yeah,
Drop the Dodgers pitcher.
Yeah, you got into 2 leagues somehow.
You got me. Hope Jeff's not listening to this. You got me.
Yeah, too many breadcrumbs for this one. I got you, Bubba.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, no, I saw that. I'm like, whew, had to throw that one out there. All right, got a couple listener questions from the old Twitter before we take off here. First one's from BP, everybody at futures_bet says, guys, my home league FAAB runs on Monday night, so he's going to listen to this live potentially. I put in for Otto Lopez. He was dropped when injured. 14-team mixed. I need stolen bases. What do you think? Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. He in the 14-teamer, it's basically a 15. Yeah, you definitely want to go for Otto.
Yep, great pickup. He's hitting cleanup right now. Our buddy Joe G says, trusting Birdsong and Coors on Thursday.
Oh, that's a. Let me see how Birdsong's doing, because I never got him anywhere.
Well, yeah, I'll let you comment that I have the haymaker when you're done.
Yeah, I'm not scared of the Rockies at all. So I guess I would. I mean, if you have to, I would play them. But yeah, I think I'm okay with it.
Birdsong's potentially best start of the season last year. 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and 12 strikeouts took place in Coors Field. If he's on, it's what I've always said about Birdsong. If the control's there, he's a phenomenal pitcher. He's young, and control is always an issue. I think if you're rostering him, you take the Rockies every chance you can. And if the Rockies get to him, the Rockies get to him. But he's talented enough to take advantage of this start, is the way I would look at it. All right, we're going to wrap it up there, my friend. Any final thoughts as we head into Week 12 here?
Yeah, I have a little rant to get off my chest that I just realized. And so we were talking about Michael McGreevy earlier. He's back in AAA, and I have him started in 3 teams. And
when did that happen?
The note was 209 today, and RotoWire has had him in the rotation the entire day, because I've been on RotoWire the entire day. So
we were talking about it in the Discord and didn't see anything on it either. Like, I literally, the thing I saw this morning, I put in there that the beat reporter interviewed him, and the team was trying to stretch him out, but weren't sure how they'd utilize him this week. Yeah,
I was looking over at the TV, and I saw on the bottom line, I go, why is McGreevy going to AAA? And then I looked down at his player page, 209 today, sent back down to AAA. So that's awesome. I hate these teams.
Yeah. What did you say? They lie, or they're dumb, or there's a million things you're saying about them. But yeah, that's one way to show folks.
The line they can help. They can't help if they're stupid or not. So I don't know. Who's the worst ones? Well, the Rockies, obviously. I think I forget. I'm just going to Discord. There's countless teams that are stupid, but add the Cardinals to the list.
Yep, 5 hours ago, by the Cardinals Twitter account, Riley O'Brien and Chris Roycroft have been recalled from Memphis. Michael McGreevy and Matt Swanson have been optioned to Memphis. Wow. Literally 3 hours before that was the tweets I put in the Discord about him pitching this week in an interview from a beat reporter. Good God.
So I guess we can't put all our faith in RotoWire. I mean, it's one source, but like they have guys who watch this stuff all day. I don't get how
that's not good.
It's a paid service too, so it should be up to date.
Should be up to date. Yes, that's a rough one, and we will talk to their people. I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, that's a stinger. I probably have him at least 1 DC. So
I'm gonna tell Ryan now that he's on the inside with RotoWire. He's got to
fix this. If he shows up to tomorroow's pod, I don't know.
Oh yeah, he might be done.
His head might not fit in the picture. It's crazy. But we'll wrap it up there. Ryan did a great job. For those that went over what we're talking about, he filled in for Jeff Erickson on the Sunday night pod with Scott Jensen. It was awesome stuff. Yeah. So go check that out if you guys for some reason listen to this and don't listen to that. Not sure why, but go check that out. And until next time, make sure you follow Ben on Twitter at BreakingBen_T. I am at BDentric. This was Bench with Bubba, episode 769, your Week 12 FAAB Recap. Catch y'all next time.